Great to have you here on this busy Monday. It is a busy time. And I've certainly talked about I'll be taking a bit of a couple of days off at the end of the month because, as some of you know, we are gearing up for a move. And after 25 years living here in this city, the Big Smoke, my family decided we're going to get out. And we're very much looking forward to getting out of it. I will tell you that not that it was a better experience last time when we had to buy a house because we were in bidding wars and all the rest of it. It was just a very different selling and buying experience. And I won't say it was fun. It was just not at all what I expected. I thought, oh, for sure, we're in Toronto, we'll sell fast. But no, even if you had something great, buyers had options and they were absolutely thinking of those options and not in a rush. We ended up with over 50 showings. And then we got one offer. We were very, very, very happy to sell, and we were lucky, I think. And so it worked out. But then I see this new numbers, and there's something called the TREB report. It's a monthly housing report. And Frank Leo said, well, there's something in here you might want to be talking about because we haven't seen this in years, and specifically to housing sales. Now, the lowest they've been in 25 years, despite all the demand, despite the crisis, despite the population that can't get into the housing market. It's not happening. People aren't selling, or houses aren't selling. So I want to bring Frank Leo into this conversation. He is, of course, CEO and founder of Frank Leo and Associates, and he is and was and will be, well, I'm never moving again because I can't handle it, but was my real estate agent. Hi, Frank.
Hi, Alex. Welcome to 2026. Great year.
My son said to me the other day, he said, well, Mommy, just realize that the next time you move, you'll be organized. And I said, the next time I move, we'll be in a coffin. I am not doing this again because it's...
Don't say that.
It's
never
hell.
say never.
I'm never moving again. No, was I a good client, by the way?
You're awesome. You're always awesome. And your show is fantastic as well. So.
Who did you like more, me or my husband?
Well, you know what? As you know, you're doing something now that not many people did, right? That's one of the conversation pieces today is that, the sales in 2025 were the lowest in 25 years. That means that the 25 years ago, you remember that was like Y2K when the computer was supposed to crash and the world was going to end, and when we look at those numbers, it was actually 62,433 homes sold.
Is that in Ontario or in Canada?
That's on the Toronto Real Estate Board, right?
Yeah.
And that's actually down from 2024, 11.2%. But, if you really look at it, how much has the population grown in the 25 years? Mm-hmm. How many more homes and buildings have we built in the last 25 years? So that's telling us that a lot less people are moving, but not by a little bit, by a lot, because the population and more properties exist.
Yeah. And so, okay, what does this tell you then? Like, break it down like I'm a 10-year-old.
Well, the simple answer is that there's uncertainty. There's concern. People are frozen where they are. Now, there's still opportunities in this market because, the only people that are really the most affected are first-time buyers because they haven't purchased yet, mm-hmm. or people who are selling their last home, they're retiring, going to a rental. Those are the people who won't have the ability to transfer from one home to another, because if you buy lower, you pay less, and if you buy higher, you pay more. So it balances out. But those people getting into the market or leaving the market are the ones that are most influenced.
Yeah. Well, look, you told us, you kind of started nudging and said, get out. And this was in the spring, even probably earlier than that. You're kind of like, Alex, if you're going to sell, you might want to do it soon. Yeah. And it just we couldn't get our house in order, so to speak. So we did end up knowing that we would lose. But I think the jarring thing for me was just not having that demand that, like, not everybody wants the center of the universe. It was like, and you were pretty emphatic on saying, slow your roll. You've got to sell this thing before you buy it. But that wasn't the way it was before, right? It's just a totally different market and a totally different mindset.
Different mindset and everything else. And you have to understand how to work in this market. But, I mean, you did get an incredible price for your home, and you did find the perfect home to move to. So, I mean, there's an opportunity there if someone wants to make that move. The thing is that what we want to bring to everyone's attention is that the unknown, the uncertainty is not going away, because we still have the trade tariffs. What's going to happen? I mean, we had recently Venezuela, The other thing that I just heard a report the other day on the news on your show, about the restaurants possibly closing down, right? So
4,000.
I mean, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was going to say 4,000.
Yeah. Well, the real question mark for families is jobs. If you have your job and you're securing your job, then you know what? You just power through this and you'll make it through. If your job is in doubt, then you have to realize how that's going to affect your life, and you've got to prepare for those decisions before you're forced to do anything. You're planning.
Right. But who does for so long, Frank, the real estate market has been driving the economy, which you're not supposed to drive an economy on a housing market, but it was the driver of the economy for so long. It worked for us, and now it doesn't.
Well, people are looking at their home as their largest investment, and it still is, but it shouldn't be an investment. It's somewhere you need to live. The problem with Ontario was we depended on two industries for growth. One was the car industry, and the second was the construction industry. And that's where the economic engine was moving. Unfortunately, with these new tariffs and the trade deals that are concerning us all, the car industry has kind of slowed down considerably and is threatened to, be taken away from us. And construction has come to a virtual halt because of the exorbitant purchases and all these condos. And now the prices have changed where people now have purchased homes, condos 4 or 5 years ago, and they're closing now, and it's not quite the same price as when they purchased. So there's a lot of people going through that. And the last thing that we have to look at that's really affecting us is that 5 years ago, in 2020, we all got mortgages that came up in 2025. In 2025, we had the largest amount of mortgage renewals in history. Do you know that?
Yeah. Oh, I know. I was part of it.
Yeah. Now in 2026, we're going to beat that record. Even more renewals. So people are renewing. The unfortunate thing is they're renewing at a much higher rate than it was back in 2021. So it's still high, even though the rates have come down recently. They're still more than they were at the low compared to the low rates of 2021.
And so what does, if you haven't been in this market, if you're a new buyer or a buyer who hasn't been able to get in, are there not opportunities here? Because I keep seeing, like all these empty condos. We have development that are either being built and not selling, but is there not an opportunity for someone to get into the market now if they can get there for the long term?
Absolutely. The key here is that when a buyer is looking at a property, they're not rushing anymore. They can look for the right property in the right location with the right features and the right amenities and buy the right home at a reduced rate. And, people don't realize that you make money when you buy real estate, not when you sell it. If you make a good purchase, then it's going to be worth more when you sell it. We have people who, if you look back at during the crazy days of multiple offers, have homes with a train behind them or with hydro wires or with concerns that now today people don't want those homes and they're losing. Yeah.
And that would be me with the train behind the house, right? Where before you didn't care. You didn't care if pigs were living in the living room. It was like, I'll buy it. I'll deal with the pigs in the living room. Like, you had to buy it. Now it's like, I don't want that, no matter how nice it is. And so, again, what do you see coming? Because you warn that the future is directed by our past. And if you were kind of on the shoulder of the Doug Fords and the Carneys and all the rest of it, they're the ones making all these big promises.
Well, there's a lot of promises and a lot of uncertainty because the U.S. is changing what they do on a daily basis, so we don't know what's going to happen. But what you have to look at is, well, how is my job situation? How's my mortgage situation? Is there changes there? Is there possibility of something to make me have to do something? Because if that's the case, then you should sit down and look at your options. And that's what I'm trying to say, because, change is going to happen. It's not going to stay the same. We hope it gets better, but it could get worse. So we need to know what our options are so that we do what's best for our family so that we can withstand the storm, so to speak.
All right. Well, do you have a few more minutes or do you have to get off?
Of course.
Okay. Do you have to go sell a house? Okay.
Yes, we're doing that as well, but I have time for you.
You got 4 minutes to close the deal. Let me hold you on the line. Do you mind if people call in? If you're looking or in your situation in the housing market and you want to jump in, I'm going to ask Frank a couple more questions, including could we see it get as bad as early 80s under Trudeau Sr.? What are we looking at as what's the worst case scenario? But if you're in the market or you're trying to get in the market or you've seen something, give us a call, 416-870-6400, 888-225-TALK. We're talking about some very troubling numbers when it comes to home sales and what it is telling us, the story behind the numbers. Follow that dollar. And you can do so with me and Frank Leo here on The Alex Pierson Show. Great to have you here. We're chatting about A housing report with Mr. Frank Leo and Associates. We're talking about a housing report that shows we are seeing some of the lowest housing sales that we have seen in 25 years. Here's my question to you, Frank. Are we going to see this go lower, and could it get as bad as it was in the early 80s?
Anything could happen. Obviously, we don't know what's going to, transpire in the world in terms of the economy. There's a lot of geopolitical things going on. So anything is possible, but we have to look at how all those things are going to affect our family to protect us from having to do something. Because the problem is that when you're forced to make a decision,
right,
that's different than when you can plan for it.
And are you finding, a lot of people had to renew their mortgage, and we chatted about that a little bit earlier, but are you finding that the banks are working with people given the, rates have changed so drastically, or are you finding that people are being forced to walk away altogether?
Well, they're trying to renew. The problem is that a lot of people over-leverage themselves. They thought this was never going to end. Prices kept going up. And so now they're in a situation where they have to pay more per month that they can't afford to because the cost of living has gone up.
Yeah.
And this is something that was unexpected, but nevertheless is here. So what do you do? And that's what you have to discuss, what your options are.
Now, have you seen you've been in markets like this, correct? You've got an economist's background, so you do. You and I talk quite a bit about this, but have you seen stuff like this?
This reminds me of 1989 when the market crashed. The market went down for a total of 6 years. Right. It ended up going to the end of 95, and the prices went down in Toronto and the GTA between 40 and 60%.
Boy, oh boy. Well, and I think a lot of younger people might look at that and go, okay, there is a chance. Right? That's those numbers. If 60%, that might give a lot of younger people the opportunity.
Well, that was a difficult time. And so, yes, it is possible. Do we want it to happen? Probably not.
Well, because a lot of people will lose, the shirts off their back in order for that to happen, right? People have to lose.
We don't want that to happen. We don't want people to get hurt.
No, we don't. 416-870-6400 or 888-225-TALK. If you want to jump on, I've got Frank Leo here commenting on a fairly significant housing report that kind of should make your eyebrows go up a little bit. But we've got a call from Adam in North York. What's your situation? Are you selling or buying?
For me? No,
Yeah.
I'm casually looking. Back in 2018, I came close to getting a property in the Niagara area, or a secondary home. And but I walked away because at the last minute they told me septic system failed inspection. Oh. They didn't want to come down further, so I walked away. It was a buyer's market back then.
What are you waiting for?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Well, then COVID hit. I was been renting, and then COVID hit, and it was in a crazy anomaly where prices went insane.
So
it's ridiculous.
What are you hoping? And are you waiting till the prices come down?
Yeah, a little more. I've seen here and there dribs and drabs come down. I was looking at some properties and that. But it's funny. If I didn't have roots here, I wouldn't live in Ontario. Yeah. There's so many other provinces where it's way more affordable to live in. I know people who moved to Alberta. Mm-hmm. You can get amazing places for a fraction of what we're paying. BC and Ontario is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Every other province is reasonable. I know people who left the country, they're moving stateside or moved to Europe because I even spoke to refugees who are not happy with the situation and they want to leave. They want to leave Canada.
Yeah, well, that is when it gets too expensive to live here. Are you hearing a lot of that, Frank, where you got people who are just like, I'm out, can't do it anymore?
Well, it is more expensive to live in Toronto and in the GTA, but it's a world class city, so you're not getting the same amenities as.
It really doesn't feel like it. Hence my move.
It's a great city in terms of what we have to offer, in terms of our theaters and our culture, and you have everything here. It is a world class city, but you have to pay a little bit more for that. And you can go to a small town and you get a different experience. So that's always been the case. So you're going to pay more for the city. But the thing is that, it's gone everywhere. The situation that we're talking about is across North America, that the whole real estate market has changed because the factors are not just single-handedly affecting Ontario. They're affecting all of us. Inflation is a true concern, and the issues of the world are a true concern, and the jobs are a true concern.
Mm-hmm. Right, but we haven't really hit the drag part. Like we haven't really hit the impact point of what's been going on. I feel like we've been really lucky.
Yeah, we've been avoiding this essentially prices have gone up nonstop since 1996 to 2022. There's been really just a couple of bumps in the road, but not necessarily any drops. And now since 2022, we're seeing a little bit of a correction, and that's what we're in the middle of now.
Boy. And so if you were advising someone like Adam, not really sure where he wants to buy, doesn't really have much interest in Toronto, but maybe Niagara, maybe across the border, but where would you get the better advantage? Buying outside of Toronto or buying when prices are low in Toronto and then holding on? Because you made clear if you're going to be in Toronto for about 6 to 10 years if you don't sell now to recover, right? Like it's going to be a long recovery period.
Well, if the prices go down, it's going to take about the same amount of time to go up. So that's why it takes that return. In terms of when someone is buying a property, it's not just about the home. It's about where do you work, where do you shop, where's your family, the location to your needs is very important because that's time on the road. So if you have to save some time, I know people who drive 3 hours to and from work at 6 hours a day. That's a very taxing on you. So if you can avoid that distance of driving and be closer to where you live and work and play, that's going to help you. So right now, the
clearly
advantage
I didn't plan this very well, did I?
well, there's advantages to that as well, but it's not 3 hours, right? So people should look at this as an opportunity to get the right property. And when you buy the right property, the one that's going to feed your soul and your needs, then you don't have to worry about moving in the short term. You can be there longer, and that alone is going to give you a better investment because you don't have to move, and you can move. And when you do sell, you've sold a great property because you've really put the thought of buying the right one for you and your family. Yeah,
no question. I will say, Frank did save my behind in buying the wrong property because he made me go see it again when I was sold. I was sold on this place. I wanted it. He was not going to convince me otherwise. And he just take one more look. And I went and I said, oh, I don't want it. Thank God. So there was a lot of good things that came.
That's the timing. So if you were rushed in a market where prices were going up, you may have made a mistake. But because you had a second chance to see it and reassess it, you made a great decision, and you're going to be very happy in the future.
That's right. All right, let's go to Port Perry. Hi, Megan.
Hi, how are you?
Good. You say what? What do you want to talk to Frank about?
Well, I've actually met with an associate from Frank Leo, his real estate, RE/MAX, in trying to decide whether or not I need to sell my sister's home now or try to hold on to it as long as I can. My sister passed away at the end of October. And it is in Stouffville. It's a century home and still appears on the outside as a century home. But the niche market, it looks like a few years ago, it could have been over $1 million. Now it's like...
know. I'm going to run out of time, so I want to get the question to Frank. So Frank, it's a nice home. It's not her home, but she's going to have to manage this estate. What does she do?
Well, my condolences, first of all. It's hard to deal with a loss. In terms of the pricing... the home has cost an upkeep that you have to understand that you have to pay that money right now. And so that's a consideration. You can't leave it empty. Yeah. If you get tenants, how is that going to handle, the condition of the property? With the concerns that we have right now, the momentum is prices not going up right now. So you probably lose in the short term. Unless you're ready to keep it for a longer period of time, you're probably better off selling it sooner rather than later.
So in other words, unless you can rent, get rid of it because you don't want the.
But even if you rent, you can't get tenants out, and they may not leave the place in the same condition that it is right now.
Put your kids in and charge them rent, and then you can kick them out. No, I hope that answered your question, Megan. Sorry we didn't have more time. Well, look, I'm glad you put this on our radar because there's so much news going on with all the geopolitical stuff and all the stuff going on that we talk about it quite a lot, but I appreciate you putting that on the radar.
My pleasure. I think our real estate investment is very important, and to understand the information is going to help people make good decisions moving forward.